With cold, blunt analysis, cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
Let's establish this first. So Rashad Richey, do you want to go on the TYT website?
Oh yeah, sure. Or should I go to LinkedIn?
Copy. No, I think the TYT is good because that sort of sets the. I'm gonna send you the link in the private chat.
Okay. So go to YouTube and then the.
Oh no, the tyt.com.
Oh, tyt.com.
Did you get the link? I sent it you in the private chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. You did. Hang on.
So yeah, we're just setting the stage here.
Okay, let me blow this up a little bit.
This is the Young Turks Network. This is where Rashad Richey has his show, The Indisputable with Rashad Richey, a show that brings in about, I think, approximately $1 million a year. So on YouTube, that's his show. And this is his profile on the Young Turks Network that establishes him, the Young Turks Network being generally said to be sort of the Fox News of the left. They're liberal, progressive. That's their stance. That's their catch. That's who their audience is. That's what they argue for. And so here's Rashad Richey, and this is his profile. And let's go down to where he's got his dissertation, right? So it's Dr. Rashad Richey, right? He says he's a doctor, and he has many doctorates supposedly. But which one does he use? Which one does he use in this case? We can actually see that where he says, "Oh yeah, before becoming a media juggernaut." So that if you scroll a little down on that paragraph, I think that's where we got the. No, it's. I don't see where's his. Oh yeah, next one. Rashad holds a Bachelor of Arts in Religious Studies and a Master of Business Administration from Beulah Heights University. He also completed studies in executive leadership, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
Rashad's background and interest in politics and religion, which is relevant to the Young Turks, which is what he talks about on his Indisputable show, led him to undertake doctoral coursework at Scofield Graduate School. So the Young Turks Network is, the Indisputable Rashad Richey, you said, is show is about 13 years old.
Yeah.
So he did this degree. He did his studies in politics while he was doing the show. At Scofield Graduate School, where his qualitative research, which is also mentioned in his dissertation, that it's qualitative, not quantitative, on the global effect of Western religion on politics, policy, and government. That's in fact the title of his dissertation. Right. After his dissertation was successfully defended and published, Rashad accepted professional and so on. So here he gives us the title of his dissertation. He says it was defended and published. So we know it's been published, and that's the title of it. So I found it. I found this dissertation. You can actually even buy it online on his.
Grand Verlag.
Yeah. So.
By the way, just to interject here, I did a video some time ago, a long time ago. One of my first, I think I did on Rashad Richey, where I went to Gren Verlag's website and showed everybody where you could purchase it. But all I ever was able to find was a preview of the dissertation, which was pretty interesting alone. You were able to find the entire thingy, dealio.
So the preview also interested me because it seems like he's going into a conservative direction with his argument on politics, and I was like, well, that doesn't sound like Rashad Richey, but
By the
whatever.
way, I shouldn't interject there though. The Scofield Institute was accredited by a Indian accreditation agency whose website no longer works, and it's notorious for its very conservative religious views.
Notorious, yeah. So the Scofield Graduate School is there is one person who is the founder, president, and CEO, and
Kenny
only
Rhodes.
Kenny Rhodes, an only employee, by the way. So whatever,
Yeah,
you know. So it's like if your uncle gave me a PhD and I'd said, now I have a doctorate. You
yeah.
know, that's about as legitimate as that is. Um, yeah. So anyway, so we have, and I'm just, people are thinking, oh yes, we already know this, but no, this is important so we can establish that Rashad Richey claims this on his Young Turks, on his
CYT.
indisputable website. He claims that he's done this, and this is his thesis, and he did it while he was, doing his show there, and while he was espousing these, very liberal values, going after people who are racist, people who are going, he's got a show where he's he's railing against people who are homophobic, and so that's his view anyway, and this is the thesis, and let's look at the thesis and how incredibly scandalous it is in comparison to his views that he publicly claims. So this is public,
Okay.
but I don't think Rashad ever thought that somebody would find, download, or buy this thesis and actually look at it. But also, I thought maybe Rashad, maybe um, maybe the people that employ him, Cenk Uyghur and Anna Kasparin and Brett Ehrlich of the Young Turks Network, because he's disclosed this so openly, right, on the
Right.
website. So
Well, he
maybe
doesn't link it though. He doesn't
he
link
doesn't
it. He doesn't
he
want
doesn't
anybody
link
to
it, but
see it.
it's disclosed. You could find it.
Sure.
It's not too hard to find. You look at it. They checked his credentials when they employed him or when they made a business deal with him. So maybe he thinks that they have read it and they agree with it. So who knows, right? Or they, at least they don't object to it.
Mhm.
And I'm saying all this because this is very different from what he displays in his everyday shows.
Right. Okay. By the way, let's go over through some more superficial
Yeah.
things here initially before I forget them. We will publish your bachelor's and master's thesis, essays, and papers. This is vanity press. I mean, give me a break. Okay. When you get a dissertation, when you defend your dissertation gets filed with the university library, and it should be available to anybody from any university library, right? Because it's supposed to add to the knowledge base of your field. You don't see them being sold for money through a vanity press. That is a red flag that this is a bunch of crap. So that's one of the things I mentioned in my earliest videos is I've never seen a dissertation only available through purchase from a publisher's website. That's
So
crazy.
to add a little bit more to that, it used to be, I think back in the maybe 50s, 60s, 70s, there were universities where you had to, publish your own book. But they got rid of that a long time ago. So there's nothing like this anymore. The university library will take care of your thesis, and they need to, and they want to, right?
Right, but those weren't through vanity presses. Those were peer reviewed by like Springer Verlag and all these, top
Those were,
notch.
yeah, those were academic publishers.
Those
That's
were
right. Yeah,
academic books. I mean, there was
that's right.
no, okay, so Dover and all those kinds. Okay, so let's go ahead and scroll on down. Nothing here as far as I can tell, unless you see something. Copyright 2016.
So this,
Interesting.
yeah, well, we'll get to the front page and we'll see. So this is Rashad Richey. This is the Rashad Richey, our Rashad Richey, and I hope I've established that previously with our, going through this. And that's important because I think he's going to claim that's not him. So author
Yeah,
Ali
he's
Rashad
going to have
Richey. Yeah,
to. Okay, so here's the title. We know that one. Author is
yeah,
Ali Rashad Richey. He hyphenates it sometimes, and sometimes he doesn't.
that's his legal
Um,
name, and there's only one of those. And let's give a background here. Ali and Rashad are both very Arabic names.
yeah,
And so with Arabic being
Islamic,
the
really, right?
With Arabic being the lingua franca of the
Yeah, it
Islamic
could be
world. Yes.
Christian there, but okay.
Yeah.
Um, and it's the Trinity Graduate School of the Scofield Graduate School. That's a strange kind of dealio, but and I already disclosed this earlier, guys. When you go to the actual website and you find where the school is located, it's a small church in Modesto, California.
Yeah, it's anyway. It's as if it isn't just that one guy, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what's important. I mean, at least one of the important things to look at. He defended on August 5th, 2016. He only has one person on his committee.
And
Supposed to have
I mean,
five.
I know, but you're making a big deal of it. I think, look, it's a theological seminary. I don't think we can apply the exact same standards. They're going to cite the Bible and all this stuff. Oh, by the way, he doesn't even cite the Bible. But anyway, uh, but it's not going to be the same full academic standards of rigor and proven science and experiments and all that stuff.
But even
So
master's degrees require typically three.
yeah, okay, I agree. Somebody else should have been involved, but we know why nobody else was involved because Professor Kenny Rhodes is the only person at this school.
Right.
And
He's the only professor. He owns it. He founded it, and he's the only person teaching there.
yeah, he might have employed his wife at some point. I don't know. But anyway, it
By the
cost
way,
$4,000 for I think I found this out about 2 years ago. It was $4,000 for a PhD thesis.
and he, by the way, he has some YouTube links, and he's out there, man. So you can actually, if you want to see what Kenny Rhodes is like, he does have some YouTube videos out on religion, and it's pretty interesting. But I don't want to go there, but um, the idea somehow that you can get a PhD from a single person is ludicrous.
Hey, let's read what Chris Harding is saying here. He's found
Yeah,
out
this is
something
pretty
else.
interesting. Rashad made the announcement about completing his quantum physics PhD at the Paris Graduate School, and Willie Rockwood is serving as his doctoral supervisor.
Wow.
Oh no!
Chris, you should email one of us because we gotta get in touch. You got some skills there.
He does. And by the
Yeah,
way, I invited him to come on tonight. I
yeah,
did. I don't know if I missed maybe if he was wanting. Hey, Chris, if you want to come on and co-host tonight, by all means, let me know, and I'll send you the
yeah.
link to it.
That's
Um,
great. So you found Willie
he's really good.
Rockwood.
I mean, he
That
finds
that
all
that
kinds
makes
of.
more sense. Willie Rockwood is now also involved in this fake Paris graduate school. Willie Rockwood, by the way, I've checked his academic background. It's not very strong. He doesn't have a lot of publications. He's done a PhD and it's not breaking any records. So
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. So yeah, that's now all of a sudden things are making a lot more
things are
sense to
making
me.
sense. Yeah, this is great. Okay, but let's read this. Yeah, so I've got a few pages here. Let's
Okay.
scroll down, I guess,
Well,
to the
let's just
intro.
go through a few things here that I
Yeah,
want to
okay,
point
go ahead.
out initially
Yes,
because
yes.
he defended on August 5th, 2016. However, there's a small problem. If you do a search on 2017, hot dog it, you will find that he's citing literature from the future. It is worth considering. For example, events as of the year 2017 involving free speech, safe spaces, and let's see here.
Microaggressions.
Yeah, pair 2017. Oh, here we go. Personal interview 2017. This is the interview that formed the data for this dissertation that took place after he defended.
Yep. Data, by the way, don't forget the air quotes for data here, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's no data. Oh, and by the way, that's another thing. The sample size was what?
One.
One.
Uh,
The
and and
sample
and he has
size for this. Go ahead.
and he justifies why that's okay, right?
And his justification was, thinking about it, it was good.
Yeah, it could
Let me
be
see
better,
here.
but
I'm sure
one's
I can
just
find it.
fine. Yeah.
Let me see. I'm sure I can find it.
Yeah.
Okay. The
Multi.
sample,
Yeah.
okay, right
Yeah.
here. The sample of the present study consists of only the one single congressman. It may have been desirable to include more. Yeah, you think? It may have been more desirable to include more congressmen in the sample. Yeah, because there's this thing about statistics, right? But this proved to be unfeasible for logistical reasons. In other words, it was too much trouble. And by the
Oh,
way, go ahead.
yeah, no, let's start with this. So he interviewed a congressman for this, but the congressman wants to remain anonymous. So he
Yeah,
doesn't name the congressman. The congressman, of course, that's totally bogus. Which congressman do you think does anonymous interviews?
yeah,
Which
I
one?
know, I know it. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
um, but let's suppose that it was real. This research is worthless because you interviewed somebody and I don't even know who it is. Like, what can we
Yeah.
learn from that?
Well, it's nevertheless adequate, right,
Hmm.
for the conclusions and
It
the
goes on.
theoretical
In any
framework.
event,
So this thesis has so many different logical errors that they're not even worth pointing out, really. I have a list of things I want to go through, but these are just the very the tip of the iceberg kind of things, the things that are really in contrast to what Rashad Richey is espousing on his shows on a daily basis. Um, the academic value is zero of this. This
yeah.
sample size is just one of those um, errors that kind of pops out. But just the logical errors in this are so numerous, and so I'm going to point out a few things.
Okay, let
But
me go ahead and read this sentence here, though. It
yeah,
says, in
okay,
any event, the findings reported below, while all coming from one subject, one single person, were nevertheless adequate for formulating conclusions based on what? On the basis
based
of
on,
analysis.
yeah.
Okay, so
So he's developing a framework. A lot of this thesis is repetitive. I'd say about 2/3 of it are, or maybe half or 2/3 of it are completely repetitive. There
yeah,
isn't a whole lot of stuff in there. I've read the whole thing. I don't know if you've read through the entire thing, but it's
I've read
tedious.
through it, but I haven't
Yeah,
studied it quite like you have, I believe.
yeah. So let's go to page 16, 17. Um,
Oh, wait.
yeah, the extremely short interview, with the congressman.
Oh, it was ludicrous.
It
Oh,
kind of looked really more like he wrote to the congressman and got written answers back.
is it here?
Say the top of the page. Which page number is this?
This is
16.
16.
Yeah. Okay. So he starts out with okay. This is essentially a thesis on the secular progressive people and their ideology, and the Christian conservatives and their not ideology but their sincere beliefs, right? So he's railing against these Marxists and the progressives that have sort of evolved from the Marxist communist belief system. So does this sound like Rashad Richey? Well,
No.
it doesn't sound like the public Rashad Richey, but
Right.
my theory on all of this is that Rashad Richey is a closet conservative. Remember, years ago there was this congressman. He was caught in an airport bathroom. Uh, you know, Gay
Yep.
sex, whatever that scandal. His excuse, was terrible. He resigned later, and he was a closeted, self-hating gay man, right? So in the
What
same
was this
way,
the key jangler?
I don't know.
I think it
I
was the
don't
guy who
remember
was
the story.
jangling
Yeah.
keys as a sign.
Anyway, he was going to airport bathrooms having gay sex anyway, and it
Yeah.
was embarrassing because publicly he was, railing against gay marriage and these homosexuals and espousing family values, right? But in secret, he was like this. So, in the same way, Rashad Richey, in not so secret because this is a published dissertation, but he doesn't advertise this. He's a conservative. He just hates himself, but he's a conservative. These are his beliefs. He's a deeply religious man. And the one thing that rarely comes up is the gay thing, right, on his show, but he does go for it. And Anyway, the Marxist. Let's talk about Marxism here. The Marxist perspective, right? He's saying how the Marxists are, they have this ideology. They don't recognize this as an ideology, but it's kind of like a religion, really. They actually believe, they're kind of religious believers. So, oh yeah, and then he goes on. Do you scroll down a little bit? Yeah, keep scrolling. I think I'll go to page 17, in fact, right here. Oh yeah, in principle, adopting the Marxist perspective would prevent one from ever taking anyone else's convictions in good faith. Those darn Marxists, right? So they can't really, they can't change their mind. They're just going to believe what they believe. This is exactly the sort of thing that can be seen, for example, in Sanders' claim. He's railing against Bernie Sanders here, that leftist bastard. Rashad Richey's had it up to here with Bernie Sanders, right? Bernie Sanders claimed that Islamic terrorism is primarily caused by climate change. This position assumes, as a matter of course, that the Islamic terrorists cannot possibly mean what they're saying, namely that they're positively inspired by the Islamic faith and not driven from behind their backs by motives that they do not understand. The Marxist perspective requires one to assume that one has the intellectual and even metaphysical high ground. So those Marxists, right? This, for example, is what meant by the famous phrase of that religion, that the opiate of the masses. The idea is that as a result of believing in religions, people get their attention diverted away from the real problems. Anyway, so he's going on and on about this. And then, let's go back up to page 11.
Before we do, maybe you can
Yeah,
answer
yeah.
this person's query. They're wanting to know how to follow you.
Who's he? My name is Fake PhD Investigator. I'm on Twitter and Substack. So it's at fake PhD underscore reveal on Twitter.
Okay, and before we
I'm
leave, you can type that into the chat.
yeah.
Before we leave, we're good, and so that people can follow you easily. Okay.
I'm also
All
on
right.
Blue
Cool.
Sky. If you're on Blue Sky, but I don't use it as much. Yeah, fake PhD Investigator. I think if
Okay.
you just type that into Google, it'll my social media will pop up.
Okay. So what do you want me to do here?
Yeah, page 11.
Page 11.
Yeah, or just type. Or you can also just search for. But yeah, page 11. Go back up. So this is the tone of the dissertation here. We're talking about gender ideology here. Right? Yeah, I'm gonna scroll down a bit, I think. Like you see where we go. Likewise, progressive gender ideology would seem to have little to do with science itself. Let's read from the beginning. Modern liberalism and progressivism, for example, which he likens to Marxism and communism, by the way. That's Rashad Richey's words, right?
Mm-hmm.
Scroll back up a little bit if you can. Modern liberalism and progressivism, for example, seem to have become a quasi-religious ideology all of their own. This can be seen every time a person affirms that he believes in science. As an actual scientist should know, science is a method and not a belief system, and to believe in science is an ideological would in fact be the antithesis of the scientific spirit itself. Oh yes, Rashad Richey is, he's concerned about science, and and
How much
this
it costs for the degree?
yeah,
That's his
and
concern.
likewise, progressive gender ideology would seem to have little to do with science itself, and in fact, it is telling that this gender ideology often neglects any reference to biology entirely. Progressivism, Dr. Rashad Richey from the Indisputable with Rashad Richey says
The answer.
progressivism would thus seem to be a new ideology that is cohering within the American context, filling a vacuum that has been left behind as traditional Western religion has lost its meaning and value for many people. So this is Rashad Richey. This is the same Rashad Richey. This is his thesis. We're not talking about a different Rashad Richey. These are his actual real views. This isn't some type of, tweet that he sent out. This isn't some some misunderstanding. This is what he believes is a legitimate dissertation. His life's work, and the basis for the doctorate that he claims.
Well, here's the interesting thing, though, also, and I think we talked about this. This doesn't sound like Rashad Richey talking. This is, what do you think? I mean, this is very academic.
I'm gonna believe Rashad Richey that he wrote this.
Really?
I'm gonna
Oh, okay.
because I mean he's telling everybody this is my thesis. Look at it. I mean, he didn't say look at it, but he says it's published. Right? This is my thesis. He's advertising this. This is his thesis. So sure, it doesn't sound like him, but I believe he's got these closeted conservative views that he doesn't like to let out on the show. Why? Because of money. I think he might have even tried his luck on the conservative side, right? And he realized I can't make any money on this, and so he said, I don't really believe in anything. Let's try the liberals.
Interesting.
And I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe who knows? At this time, maybe his show wasn't making much money, and I have no idea what really happened, but this is Rashad Richey's thesis. And frankly, people have been canceled for much less than this, right? Do you agree?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But here's an
Copy
interesting point.
Yeah.
An interesting point here. I think this is copy paste from religious apologists.
Who knows? Yes. Kenny Rhodes does apologetics or whatever it's called, right? Apologetics, something like that. That's one of his. This was written in 2016.
Referencing things from 2017.
Yeah, but anyways, it's supposedly written from 2016. Anyway, that's about the time frame, And let's go to page 34. I think we'll all find that very enlightening about Rashad Richey. Page 34, he's talking about. I'm going to warn everyone. He's talking about colored people. So if anybody is, concerned about this kind of thing, he's
Right
he's talking about the gay marriage, right? This is one of his points, gay marriage. Scroll up just a tiny bit. The issue at hand becomes especially virulent when people who disagree with gay marriage on principle begin to be seen as bigots by advocates for gay marriage. He's belaboring the fact that if you're opposing gay marriage, you're seen as a bigot. That's just that's a terrible thing.
complaint.
Just you can't even oppose gay marriage without being called a bigot. Rashad Richey is over it. Yeah.
In a way, it is possible to make a seductively simple analogy and argue that opposition to gay marriage is no different from racism against colored peoples. Seductively simple analogy.
Yeah.
In other words, you can be fooled easily by people who equate the issue of gay marriage with racism.
Racism against colored people? Who? I mean,
yeah.
who? Really?
Everywhere.
Colored people. I mean, really? I don't think I've heard anyone use the word colored people except to refer to how in the 1960s people used the word colored people. Nobody says this. Nobody, except, and if somebody uses it genuinely, and last year actually a congressman, Eli something, used colored people in Congress and got in trouble for it, of course, right? Because it's derogatory, right? This is the language Rashad Richey uses against black people, I'm saying, because I think he sees himself as a white person. He lives in a suburban mansion on a lake with his Mercedes. Is he living a white person's life, and he's thinking of himself as a white person, and that he's referring to these lowly colored people, right? This is Rashad Richey of Indisputable with Rashad Richey, Dr. Rashad Richey, or should we say Dr. you can't even call gay people. You can't even be against gay people without being called a bigot, Richie. Right?
Here's
If he
another.
wants, right? If he wants his doctorate, let's refer to him by this doctorate where he rails against gay people, gay marriage. Yeah, go ahead
Well,
and read
here's an
that.
interesting one here. He says here that it is not the case that opposition to gay marriage implies an opposition to gay people. So he's basically saying that uh, it's okay to be against gay marriage because you're not really claiming that gay people are there's something wrong with them. You just don't like the marriage between them.
That's right. So he's rather the critical point would be for many believers that in traditional Western religion, marriage is a holy sacrament that's been defined by above as the union between a man
A
and a
man and a
woman.
woman.
This is
So
Rashad Richey's. Yeah, so he's agreeing with a lot of conservative viewpoints.
yeah,
He is a conservative, frankly. This is his work, right? This is his life work. What he wants to be remembered by. He has considered this. He's taken weeks. This isn't years. This is not a work of years. He's taken weeks to think about this, to rewrite this, and to put down his view and then publish it, and refer people to this thesis as his work. So this is his view. This is his true view. This is Rashad Richey, and he's railing against these liberals, these progressive liberals like Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparin, and
mhm.
Brett Ehrlich of TYT. He doesn't like those people. He doesn't like those people. The only reason why he's there is he wants to make money. You know,
I
and
think that the mention of colored people is just that's very interesting.
I mean, it's not interesting. It's a reason for anyone to get fired. I mean, people
Yeah.
have if you're referring to these these colored people, it's in there 3 times, right? If you want to go back to or do a
Oh no,
search,
it's in there more than that. Well, let me just do a search on it.
search on, yeah, I
Um,
think, yeah. How many times does it pop up?
it shows up. It shows up 3 times.
3 times, yeah. Color, yeah. People believe
But
that
keep in
colored
mind,
people should be, yeah.
our discussion of this word, bringing it up, could get us. I mean, if we were like employed by some publishing company, would get us in trouble. Just
I don't.
even talking about his use of the word colored people.
Yeah, and you see that nobody at that German publisher has read this, because this wouldn't pass muster. This is not something they're gonna publish if they know about this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and just a
scroll
comment.
scroll down just a bit more, because the next mention of colored people is just a bit further down on here. This is wait, yeah. There's many people. This is part of why the liberals and progressives tend to think of themselves as being on the right side of history. The idea would be that just as opposition to equal rights for colored people has been consigned to the dustbin of history, the logic is that the same will eventually inevitably happen with opposition to gay marriage, right? So his point is very clear. And why is he using color? It's just terrible. Rashad Richey, I mean, really?
Okay, let me ask you this:
Yeah.
what are the chances that Kenny Rhodes wrote this?
Well, the chance. I don't know. I don't know. But
I mean, okay, here's what I would
I've
investigate.
tried to reach Kenny Rhodes, but there's
Yeah.
no. I don't have a contact for him. If Kenny Rhodes gets a hold of this by any chance, contact us. Did you write this? I don't know, because
Um, I would
um, uh,
like to go through his YouTube videos and see if I'm seeing the same kind of ideas there. But
yeah,
actually, there's all
maybe
this
they
stuff
pop
pretty
up.
plays over. So,
Yeah, but that's not a we're not in the game of making excuses for Rashad Richey but colored people, it really is, he could be seeing himself as a white man, and he has a disdain for these colored people, as he calls them. And frankly, you made a point earlier. So he's partner in this law firm with these black people in it, and he thinks of them as colored people, right? He thinks of his colleagues as colored people. He thinks of he attended that physics conference with all those, what he secretly thinks of them as colored people. I mean, this guy is just problematic, frankly. Whether he's written this or not, he's putting his name to this is very problematic. I mean,
I'll be
in
honest
any
with you
regard.
though. Part of me thinks that Rashad, I mean, despite what you feel about the ideas being spread here, the prose here is beyond his IQ. I think he's too stupid to be able to write this.
Yeah, there's some wording in there like telos and what that, all these words that I don't know if he'd use those, but I haven't heard him use these. But he's put his name to this, right? Whether he's written it or not, he's
Yeah.
probably read it and
And
put his
that's
name and said, "Hey, this is good. I'm going to put my name to this." Right?
yeah. I mean, there's two kinds of arguments here. One, he actually did write it, and his personal views are way outside of what his followers think, or he didn't write it, which makes him even a bigger fraud. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, he's already a total fraud, so it's
well,
questionable. He could have written it because he's just such a big fraud and lies about everything that or that we've seen anyway. Um, that
this could
yeah,
also
he's
be
just
cut and paste, as somebody else said. That this is just
yeah.
him
I I
combing
I
through
put
and
this I put this through plagiarism checkers, right?
oh, did you?
Oh yeah, and it's not anywhere. This is new original material. So
I don't
and
know.
frankly, any conservative would be proud of his arguments. I mean, he's
Mhm.
got people on his side here that he argues against and that he vilifies in public on a daily basis, right? Tucker Carlson would love this. This would be right up his alley. This is, we don't know if Tucker Carlson has written this or Rashad Richey. I mean, it's that there's that much of a doubt.
Yeah, and I think that this person sort of summarizes my view. Oh, it's Jason. Jason Mulligan, one of my followers who's been around for. Whatever your views on the ideology, the writing is suspectly lucid for Richie, and I tend to agree. And the reason why, and I've told this many times, the reason why I first suspected that Rashad had phony degrees, which led me to go on down this path, was when he made claims about having a PhD. I thought to myself, this guy's too stupid to be able to get a legitimate PhD. And I literally thought that. I mean, I would hope that the people who watch my show would think that, well, listening to Johnny Walker Dredd, it's kind of reasonable to think that he has an advanced degree, right? But I like to I would like to think that I come across as a little bit sharper than this dude, because when I listen to him, he just sounds like a typical college dropout with very strong political opinions.
Salesman, yeah, a
Yeah.
salesman, yeah. But hey, let's go through all the highlights here. Page
Oh,
39. Let's go
page
to page
39.
39. Yeah,
Let's see, where am I? Oh, 37, 38, 30. Okay. Oh, that's
you
40.
know, if Cenk Uygur or anyone from TYT is watching, if you haven't had enough, let's read this. There's nothing scientific, for example, about claiming that a biological man can transform into a biological woman just because he thinks of himself as a woman. Actual science would indicate that XX or XY are coded into every cell of the human body, and that there's no way for any given person to change this situation. And yet, modern liberals and progressives are the ones who recently staged what they called a March for Science, which was in 2017, by the way, which consists of full-throated support for the entire modern LGBT agenda. Oh, he's just those leftists and their LGBT agenda. Those gay supporting leftists, right? He's railing
Yeah.
against the gay supporting Marxist communist progressives. Those terrible people. This is Rashad Richey. Or this is
Yeah.
what he put his name to it
To
anyway. I mean,
hijack the
I
ways of science.
at a minimum, he would have read through this and to so I don't know. This is generally a form of bad faith and or false consciousness insofar as progressivism, like Marxism, tends to hijack the name of science while proceeding with activities in a thoroughly religious manner. And I agree that this is academic sort of thought, academic argument. So while there are many flaws, this is on an academic level. and that Rashad Richey is arguing here, but anyway, that's his thought on the gay, lesbians, bisexuals, and transgender people. So I don't know if he has a place at TYT, with these views or with putting his name to these views. And frankly, if Cenk Uygur thinks that have checked his credentials, that is his those are his thoughts, then Cenk Uygur of TYT, he's just praying to the god of money because Rashad Richey has got 1 million followers on his on his account. Just recently, Rashad Richey announced 1 million subscribers to his Indisputable with Rashad Richey TYT channel, YouTube channel.
Mhm.
So so he's supporting this guy with these views, and I have no idea how those two jive together, other than they're both earning money with that. So
Wow, man.
So the good the bad people in this thesis, and it goes throughout the whole thing. Like I'm saying, the more you read of this, the worse it gets. So the good people are the conservative Christians that have true beliefs, and the bad people in this thesis are the Marxist, communist, leftist progressives. Those are the bad people in this thesis, and there's no two ways about it. He calls them bad. He calls them deficient. If you look up, there's a word in there. Let's skip to page 54, maybe. Was another worse insult there for the left.
Okay.
There we go. That's I think scroll down a bit. Yeah, just a tad bit. So here, just a bit up, actually. I gotta read the previous paragraph a little.
Oh, sorry. Scroll up more, or
So,
you okay?
yeah, in principle, it would seem that what is happening is that the liberals and progressives have generally given up on Western religion, but they have maintained both its evangelical zeal as well as its faith in the kingdom of heaven. The left, though, has transposed the kingdom from the vertical dimension of another world to an actual future reality that is to be achieved within the confines of history. As Goldberg has indicated, this transposition lays at the origins of what can literally, and not just as a slur, be called fascism. Those leftist fascists are trying to impose their liberal views on everyone. Johnny Walker Dread, what do you say?
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
It
you
sounds about
know,
right. Hey,
I mean,
I need to contact old Rashad and have some beers with him. He's one of us.
I don't know. Rashad and what's that guy, that super conservative Trump advisor, Stephen Miller. Rashad and Stephen Miller would get along great, according to this thesis, right?
Uh-huh.
This is and we haven't even actually. I didn't even cover this. Somewhere in there, um, there's an argument. I didn't read through this, but there's an argument that Muslims, I think page 40 or something like that. Um,
Is
Muslims,
there a
they're all
word for
Muslims are all extremists. Islam. If you search for Islam, it appears,
okay?
I think, 81 times in the entire document. So he's going on and about Islam, Muslim religion. He's got no love for it. ISIS is sort of the pinnacle of Islam. That's what he explains in here. And secretly, secret or not so secretly, all Muslims want Sharia law to be implemented and sort of destroy any sort of individual freedom.
I should search ISIS. Here we go.
Yeah, ISIS. There we go. So ISIS, he's talking about how America has to defend itself and exclude these people. They exclude Muslims from immigrating into America to protect itself. Does that sound a view that we know of Rashad Richey? No, but it is a view of Rashad Richey. It is a view that he either put his name to or wrote himself. Um, You know,
Mhm.
he's considered this. I mean, this is a doctoral thesis. This isn't this isn't a drunken argument. This isn't a tweet. These are his like deeply held views that America should exclude Muslims from immigrating into the country. And what does Cenk Uyghur think of this? Right? He used to be a Muslim, so according to Rashad Richey, shouldn't have been let into the country. Right? Those people, though his employers, the people that he does business with, have no business in being here.
Well,
I mean,
and by the way, people are saying, well, this is 2016. It was written in 2017 at the earliest, and that wasn't that long ago.
that's not long ago at all. Yeah, 5 years
If
ago or
this
whatever,
was
5, 6, 7 years
2000,
ago.
if this
Yeah,
was like 2000 or 1990, I
yeah.
mean,
This
that would be
this
one thing.
this wasn't acceptable in 2010. This wasn't acceptable in 2000. They have this view on, this might have been a 2000 view on gay marriage. Frankly,
Mhm.
some Democrats might have had this view in the year 2000 on gay marriage. Frankly, but this is not a 2016 thing at all. And and actually, what this document argues, that real true values, they are timeless.
Mhm.
That's a core argument of this document. uh, and
So he can't back out of this. He can't back
yeah,
out of it.
you can't back out of this now. Let's go to the last highlight. I want to on page 83.
Okay.
Yeah, he's talking about white men. Rashad Richey has an opinion on white men.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah,
Okay, you
and
said 83?
83, yes.
Okay, hang on. Maybe I won't have beers with him.
Yeah. Well, no, I think you would. Yeah,
Oh, so really? Oh, ouch.
yeah. So let's read this part. In this context, whatever the context here was, it is worth considering the general ideological realignment of the two main political parties within America. The Democrats used to be the party of the working class, but it is primarily the white working class that got Trump into office. So Trump into office was, of course, at the end of 2016. This is after he defended his thesis. This is surely a result of the Democratic Party's full embrace of the secular progressivist ideology, from which pers- from which perspective the term white man is increasingly used as not a description, but rather as a slur and a criticism.
Yeah.
Rashad Richey, Rashad Richey is tired of white men being demonized. Rashad Richey has
I
had
mean,
it up to here with vilifying white men just for who they are.
but this is what makes me think that maybe this might have been Kenny Rhodes doing his little thing.
But then why would Rashad Richey sign off on this?
I
I
don't
mean,
know if he's
this is
read it.
his thesis. About
He's
his
nothing in
thesis.
it. Look, we're talking about Rashad Richey here.
Yeah. But
I
in
mean,
in either case, this is a scandal for Rashad Richey, frankly.
yeah.
And I don't know why nobody's looked at this before. I mean, the thesis for sale. Anybody could buy this. Like Cenk Uyghur, for example, he could have bought this thesis and just looked into it to see what his fellow YouTube, TYT member there, what his true full views are. I mean, when I talk to somebody, I get to know somebody first, and I get to know somebody well, and they say, "Oh yeah, I got the PhD thesis." I'll look it up for fun, and see, oh yeah, this is what he thinks. This is what their view is. This is what they worked on for a long time, and you just got to skip through it. But even if you skip just through the table of contents here, it becomes very clear what this is about. You know,
Well, and
you'd
here's
have to
what.
argue that Rashad Richey didn't even look at the table of contents to sign his name to this. If you claim that somebody else has written this, because the table
Well,
of
let's just
contents
go
makes it
there.
very clear
Let's just
what's
go
going on.
there.
Yeah,
If you look at the table of contents, okay.
yeah. We got
Um,
this. You go about Marxist case study, gay marriage. Ooh, okay, ISIS. What's going on here? I mean, this is a religious thing, and he's done a case study on gay marriage. All right, this is Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. We're looking at possibilities here. We have to think Rashad Richey because so we need to really like think about what we would be like if we were oxygen deprived for when our in our childhood, and he he buys a dissertation written by somebody else for a certain amount of money. I'm going to give 4,000 because I want to have the title of doctor.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
he pays this money, and the next thing he knows that this thing is for sale on Grin Verlag. He can now claim to have a PhD. Who's to say that he's ever looked at this?
You're right. Who's to say? But I mean, Rashad Richey would be the one to say, right? Rashad Richey is the one who claims to have presented this. So
I mean, in reality,
yeah,
I know that if you cornered him, he'll say, "Oh, well, of course I've read it." Well, what about these claims here? Well, I don't have no idea what kind of excuse he would have, but in
I'm not in the
reality,
business of making excuses for him when he
right?
claims that these extremely racist and oh, sorry, I terrible that I'm being called a bigot for opposing gay marriage. Anyway, so if he claims this, I'm not going to say, oh, that's not him. I'm going to make this excuse for him. He's such a fraud that if he puts this out and he publicly claims in so many places, including the TYT website, that this is his, I'm willing to take his word for it. Let's call him out on it. Let's put the fire under
Yeah,
his butt for this.
obviously,
He
either
need he
way, it's not a good look.
It's not a good look. He needs to explain this. He needs to publicly explain these views. Frankly, what there's no two ways about it. Maybe he's going to claim I didn't write this. Well, fine, you didn't write this. But by the way, so this is the doctorate that he always claims he got his title from, right? He
Yeah,
says I have an EDD and when and a PhD from Scofield Graduate School. That's on his now defunct website, rashadrichey.com, and on the TYT website. Now, of course, I've archived these publicly on archive.org. So these aren't going away. Rashad, you can delete your things now, but it's too late. This is all
and it's also
archived,
on our show.
archived in perpetuity. We've secured all the evidence. If your LinkedIn your LinkedIn page, everything is archived and secured. So whatever you want to change. So my suspicion is that his Scofield PhD is going to disappear very quickly from his LinkedIn website.
Yeah, this is
He's not going to be able to claim,
he's got a
but yeah,
problem here,
or,
and
or
he's going
he's
to have
just
to.
going to say, "Oh, this foolishness. I'm not going to go into it."
Yeah, and
It's
then
gonna
I'll get another comment on from Erica Wilson. We're suing you. I'm like,
go ahead.
no one didn't come to my mail so far.
I,
And
I
by the
think I think
way,
that Rashad Richey should go ahead and sue us because he might learn something about the legal process that he doesn't know
yeah,
yet.
that'd be the
Yeah.
only way you learn anything about law. And by
It-
the way, Erica Wilson, if you're willing, if you're listening here, one, your client would have no chance on the stand on any of this, especially in the physics area. But also, judges hate people who claim phony law degrees.
or 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 or,
That's
or
so
lie to the judge. They yeah. Anyway, but the legal process, it's just not even going to get there. They
yeah.
don't know how to file anything in court. They have no idea how any of this works.
Oops, what did I do? What did I do?
Right.
Oh, hang on, I want to.
Oh, by the way, hey, you know, just reminded me. Erica Wilson has made a threat of legal action. Is that correct? Against
Yeah.
you? Yes. So that is actually against the ethics code of most bar societies. To threaten a lawyer cannot threaten legal action. That's like
Well, she
most
didn't even
basic
threaten
thing
it.
of.
She said she was
Yes, she
suing
did.
me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What exactly does it say? Let's go to that. Do you have that? Anyway. I think it might be in violation of their ethics code.
But if you find anything, you put it in the chat window. I'll pop it up. By the way, I
Yeah.
wanted to make a mention here. We're both PhD investigators, but when you look at this, there's a serious problem here in that this is a qualitative um, PhD dissertation that is addressing the liberal arts for the most part. Okay, it's in religion, all that, and you'll notice the lack of any kind of citation of anything. This is written stream of consciousness. There was no compilation of the research foundation, research body that one would normally accumulate, and from that glean a conclusion. This is written clearly from a person's like views straight up. This is stream of consciousness, and you can also see it here. Take a look. Look at the lack of citations.
There's
There's
not.
no
Yeah.
attempt here. There's no attempt here to really do research. This is not a researched article at all. And if you go to the very bottom,
The Bible
um,
isn't even cited. There's no citation of the Bible, you know?
yeah, there's nothing. And that's really critical
Uh,
because of the various versions of it. If there's one document you have to cite, it's the Bible because you can't
it
make a mistake in the wording in those kind
it's
of
a
passages.
it's a theological dissertation. Why wouldn't the Bible be cited, right?
Right. And here's the interview. It only spans 3 pages. The vast majority of questions are worthless. What religious sects do you declare allegiance or membership to? Who cares? Because this is supposed to be a broad-based understanding of religion, not about a certain person. But you'll see it here. Um,
So
there's
the
nothing.
interview, it's really interesting. The interview is of obviously a black, Democratic member of Congress.
Mhm.
It's really and then in the analysis, um, of this interview. There's a lengthy analysis of this interview and why this black, progressive, Democratic congressman is just wrong. You know, there's a long explanation of why he's just wrong in his views, deluded, and all this kind of stuff. And by the way, just a few minutes ago, you were at the part at the beginning of the thesis. So Rashad Richey argues one of also his core arguments in this dissertation is that America was founded as a Christian nation, and America is a Christian nation, whether you like it or not.
I saw that.
It's founded by by Christian men, and uh, and any progressive values that people might have, they are derived from Christian Judeo-Christian values. There is no such thing as as universal moral values. They are the values that anybody in the Western world has, the progressive, these are all Judeo-Christian values in reality. And they just don't want to admit it. That's sort of the one of the core arguments here.
Well, and this is the interview here. I think, in my opinion, and I think you may have said something similar, this is
Yeah.
probably Rashad Richey's only contribution to this dissertation.
That could be, yeah. If he didn't write the main part, railing against white men being, singled out, um, which you understand, it's hard to believe he would write that. But anyway, then this interview with the Democratic black Democratic congressman, that's up his alley, right? He interviews people all the time. He's got these connections in politics. He used to be a Democratic, Democratic organizer for the Democratic
Mhm.
Party of Georgia. So he knows people, right? He could have access to somebody. And if this really was a congressman who really wanted to remain anonymous, which I really doubt, frankly, um, then it would have to be a congressman that trusts Rashad Richey to keep his identity secret,
Yeah, wow. And the other
right?
thing is, there's no questions here that a politician would be needing to answer confidential,
Yeah,
confidential.
it just doesn't happen like that, really. Frank, a congressman is not going to give. Oh, I'll give you an anonymous interview. That
Yeah.
doesn't happen. No, no, that's not how any of this works. Probably what's happened is that Rashad Richey interviewed somebody, and it wasn't a congressman, but he wanted to claim that was a congressman, and so he said, "Oh, the guy just wants to remain anonymous."
Take a look at this wording. The truth is, every nation is different and unique for a reason. That sounds more like Rashad Richey, something he would write.
That's
Has
right. Yeah.
Christianity created more conflicts? tore peace.
Or PC means, yeah, that's
Well, but I mean, and that's not going to give a politician any kind of trouble. But what's really funny is when you get done, and he's asking these questions really don't have any kind of ideological basis behind them. It's just, what do you think of Christianity? And do you think that Christianity is good or bad? And then he comes down,
these
and I'm gonna
softball questions that apparently would get it supposedly would get the congressman into trouble with his colleagues, right?
right, yeah,
Yeah.
and Um, so he talks about his synopsis and analysis. It basically what kind of analysis can you even apply here because it's one person, right? But then in the end, and I hope I can find it quickly here.
The author takes great pains to make us believe that there's some methodology involved here, that there's some type of scientific analysis of what's going on.
Yeah, and I pointed that out when I was talking about the dissertation of, oh, what was her name? Bonnie Candia Bailey,
Oh
the
yeah, yeah, that's right.
and this whole thing of mystique of this is a qualitative research, and we employed um this it was a what was it, hygiene something theorem, and you look it up and you think, oh, this is nothing, this is whatever, it's always couched in these wonderful sounding qualitative approaches that don't amount to anything. You have a sample size of one, there is no qualitative framework you can apply here and glean any understanding other than just reading the congressman's answers. I mean, it's that short. You don't have
Yeah,
to do it. You don't have to do any analysis. The,
but,
it's
but the
one
analysis
person's
in this
opinion.
case in this case the analysis is necessary to disprove these liberal viewpoints, right?
Mhm.
Because that the author is so concerned and clearly disturbed by these, liberal viewpoints of the congressman. They're just so wrong. Like, it
Yeah, let
keeps
me see
going
if I
on
can find
for
it.
20 or 30 pages about this, right?
Yeah, let me see if I can find it. But I should have marked it, but I didn't. I can tell you in a summary. Um, okay,
Anyway, Rashad
in
Richey will have
summary,
to, publicly explain what's going on here.
yeah. So, in summary, the congressman was wrong because his opinions don't match the framework that we introduced earlier.
Exactly. Yeah,
That,
that's
that, that
yeah,
was his analysis,
yeah.
that we have these belief system, and the congressman, he's just wrong because he doesn't
Yeah.
agree with it.
Uh,
Oh my God.
so
Also,
yeah,
it's
that's
interesting.
one of those logical errors, in these. I don't know. There's just so many things wrong with how the arguments are made. You know,
And let's say it, no self respecting graduate committee would approve this.
this
I
is
mean,
this is like an opinion piece in
yeah.
in a magazine.
Right. Let's get one person to answer some questions to confirm whether we're right or not, or no, whether he's right or not.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead to the bibliography. This is where problems crop up. We have the first one is by Auerbach, and it's in the University of Chicago Law Review. That's an actual peer-reviewed journal, and it's the only one. All of these, none of these here are from peer-reviewed journals.
Yeah,
And
I didn't look at that, but yeah, you analyzed the
yeah, I
bibliography
don't
there.
look at this because, and by the way, when people cite books, 9 times out of 10, they don't own the copy of the book and they didn't open it. Most likely they found the quote somewhere in some other article, and so they cite the book, and you see a lot of this. And I would say most of this are just like, here we go, New York Times, the National Review. These are opinion columns, worthless.
Yeah, you're right though. This could very well not be by Rashad, because Rashad Richey does not read the National Review, the conservative National Review,
Mhm.
or maybe he does, and we're just wrong about all him. I don't know. Anyway, he's gonna have to explain what's going on with his views.
Yeah, so I would look at this right away. I mean, one of the first things I look at is the bibliography. because it kind of tells me about how much effort went in. You'll notice that almost everything is downloadable off the web. So this is a Google search result, right? You put in some keywords, you click on the links, you copy some comments out, and you post them in. This is real trash dissertation stuff. If you're looking at religion and how it affects the United States and stuff, you're going to find usually in a really good dissertation, you're going to get stuff quoted from the 1700s, 1800s, and stuff like that because you're building a historical foundation. Everything here is clickable on a link. It's all opinion stuff, relatively recently written.
And I'm sure like somebody with a degree in theology would be able to tell us how poorly sourced this is it from a theological perspective,
Right. It also it's kind of insulting to the field of theology because it kind of lends the idea behind it that theology, that real research study is just going online and reading articles and then, figuring out. No, I mean, it's a real serious study. And the people who are doing theology are typically pretty sharp and they work very hard and they try to build from the knowledge base a foundation for their work. This is not it. This is
This not, and we can tell because Scofield isn't. So the theological schools, they have their own accreditations, which are very loose, which are they have some standards, but those standards are light. They're easier to meet as academic institutions. But the Scofield Graduate School is not even accredited by these, by these accreditation institutions. They had to go all the way to India, and India accredited the institution, the Scofield Graduate School, only for degrees outside of India, for which they have no jurisdiction,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah,
it's just a
they
worthless
can't
degree.
investigate.
So this is a fake PhD. This is very much a fake PhD because it's not accredited anywhere.
Right.
It's not a real degree at all. But for Rashad Richey, he thinks it is, and for him, these views were important to convey to the public. So he's gonna need to explain. And Rashad Richey sits on the board of all these institutions, these black societies. He's gonna need to explain what he meant by colored people. What is he talking about? He's
Well, he might, but then again, he seems to be really heavily protected.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
people are going to make excuses for him, but you know what? I mean, this goes very far. This goes very far into the direction of this is, like I said, Tucker Carlson would agree with this. And these institutions where he sits on the board, I don't think they're going to look kindly on this because this is not what they're looking for, right? That hospital group in Atlanta, he sits on some type of civilian review board or whatever, right? Um, they brought him in as the only black person there. Everyone's white in Atlanta, somehow the hospital has managed to remain all white in Atlanta, and in their leadership. So they brought in Rashad Richey presumably to give a diverse opinion on things, and this is the guy they bring in with these views. I don't know, right? Is that what they were bargaining for?
I get the feeling that, oh, I don't know. I don't know how Rashad would respond to a serious inquiry. And we can call him, we can email him. We have that information. I'm not going to,
He
because I know
actually
how that would go.
yeah, he puts out, so he has his email and his phone number. He puts it on Twitter. He says, "Hey, give me a shout. Here's my number," yeah, as a reply to certain people. Or he says, "Yeah, email me. Here's my email." So that's out on Twitter. He's publicly giving out his number, his personal cell phone number and email address. So
That's
I'm not
crazy.
sure it's really secret, but we're not going to put it here.
Hey, we have a comment here from Chris about the Piedmont Atlanta board. You know anything
Oh
about that?
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
I don't know if I pulled it up though in preparation for this. It's getting a little bit late. Maybe that'd be for another night, and
yeah,
maybe Chris can somehow find some good internet. I would love to have him on the show. Then
yeah.
there's a couple others that have been investigating Rashad as well, but it looks like they've sort of like petered out. But I would like to have them on here. But I do have. Are we finished up with the dissertation?
We are, yes.